Hey, everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Fantasy Football Expo podcast series. Hey, I'm Bob Long, and guess what? We're like less than 10 days away from the Fantasy Football Expo. Are you kidding me? So, we got some more people to get through, got a few more exhibitors we needed to check in with. One of them is Smash Up Sports, who was here last year and is coming back again. That is Haibo Lu. He's with Smash Up Sports, and we're going to talk about it next. Always love our returnees, and we got another one tonight. Smash Up Sports, Haibo Lu. Haibo, great to have you. Enjoyed your app so much last year. Got to play it a little bit in the playoffs. But welcome back. You'll be coming back to the Expo here again this year. How are things going? Where are you calling in from? Tell everybody just who you are, and then we'll kind of take it from there.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Bob. We loved it last year. First off, thanks for having us. And no, it was a blast. So definitely excited to be coming back. I am here out of Chicago. So Smash Up, we started out of Chicago here. We are going into our second full season. Last year was actually our first full season. So glad you like the app, and we're really excited to be back and have more people play on our platform.
Okay. Well, yeah, like I said, had a blast with it last year, played a little playoff competition, strategies, all the extra cards, and just gives that added fun that, we all love fantasy football. That's not the issue, but getting a little jazz behind it, little twist always makes it a little bit more fun. Hybo, let's take a few steps back.
Mhm.
Could be a couple years, could be many years. We won't judge. But let's talk about your beginnings in the fantasy football world. When did you start playing? We'll talk about Smash Up Sports and how we got there. But when was the first year that you got into fantasy football? Who got you into it? How did it go? Talk about that humble beginnings for you in this world.
Yeah, so I started back in college. So
Okay.
I've always been a big kind of sports stats guy.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was back in college, I actually started, I think, one of the at the time. So this was way back in early 2000s, but I
Yeah.
started I think one of the first kind of sports analytics clubs
Mm.
in the country, and I hadn't really done much. I mean, at that time, kind of the big analytics sport was baseball.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing kind
Yeah.
of baseball stats, and so my first foray was actually into fantasy baseball,
Mm.
and I it's too much for me. I don't know if you've played like
I
it's
played. I played for about 10 years. I get it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it was a little bit too much. So
Overwhelming.
we ended up and the kind of the second year we started doing fantasy football. It was awesome. I got hooked, and I've been playing kind of ever since.
Love it. Love that. Yeah, no, I think I was the same way. Baseball was there in the beginning too. Football, we started pretty early as well. Um, Baseball was just because it was my uncle and my cousins all were into the Indians because this was mid 90s. So our
Hmm.
Indians were really good, even though they never won a World Series. But, so that's why everybody played because you wanted to draft the Indians. And of course,
Yeah.
I won all the leagues most of the years because I didn't draft the Indians because it was an auction league. They all spent all their money on like Jim Tomei and
Yeah.
Albert Bell and Manny Ramirez and Kenny Lofton. And I was then after they all ran out of money practically, then I was buying guys like Ichiro Suzuki and all the
Yeah.
guys that weren't Indians. And then my team won, and they were like, "How do you win it?" And I'm like, "Because I'm not spending all my money on Indians." And I get it; they were very good, but you can't spend your whole half your budget on three guys, when you're
Yeah.
drafting 16 players. But yeah,
No, you always gotta watch out for like here in Chicago, when I play with some of my friends here, I always make sure, even if I don't think they're gonna have a good year, I
Mhm.
always make sure to take a few Bears guys
Oh
because
yeah, yeah.
can always trade them to the Bears fans for,
That's it. Yeah, you get a couple homers in your league, and it's like playing with children. You're just like, oh hey, I'll give you. In fact, I actually did. Were you at the Scott Fish Bowl in Chicago?
I was not. I was not.
Okay. Well, anyway, so I actually came there because the FSGA conference was in Chicago at the same time. So I went and did the live Scott Fishbowl, and I was just laughing because in the league, Justin Fields went in the third round, and I'm like,
Wow.
he doesn't play for Chicago anymore, but somebody obviously had a crush on Justin Fields and drafted him in the third round. I'm like, all right, I get he could be a really good quarterback, but he's also still just Justin Fields, and you let him go. So anyway, yeah, you just never know, right? I mean, it's
Fields is
DJ
interesting.
Moore went earlier. It's just
He's
people.
always like a huge fan. Like he's much better fantasy quarterback than I think
Oh yeah,
he
absolutely.
is a real quarterback. So
Yeah, that's for sure.
we'll
All right,
see.
so we talked about your humble beginnings. Now let's talk about how that years of playing, years of being in these fantasy leagues. Where was the light? When did the light switch come on? The light bulb come on? I guess that went. We need to make a twist. We need to put some twist in fantasy football, and we need to create smash up sports. Talk about that beginnings journey for you and Chris and anybody else who's involved. How did you get to Smash Up Sports to where it is now, a couple years in?
Yeah. So I actually met Chris in grad school.
Okay.
So I met Chris in grad school, and he, we kind of hit it off. He's a big basketball guy. I'm actually a big basketball guy as
Okay.
well. In a prior life, I was actually the director of basketball ops, like assistant GM for a pro team.
Oh
Um,
wow, that's
so
awesome.
the Shanghai Sharks.
Oh okay.
So, had done kind of a lot of basketball stuff, kind of professionally, and so Chris is a big basketball guy.
Okay.
We hit it off in we hit it off in grad school and started kind of playing in a few leagues together.
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, I don't know if you've ever felt this, but after you've been playing for such a long time, you're kind of like, well, it kind of feels like the same thing every year. You do your
Mm-hmm.
research, you hope you have a good draft. Every now and then your first round pick goes down with an injury, and then you're like, oh, I'm kind of screwed. And like,
Yeah.
it feels like, as a manager, you really don't have very much control over your team. The only thing you can really do is
Mm-hmm.
decide who to draft and who to start, and that's kind
Right.
of it.
Right.
And so, I think for especially a lot of the folks coming to the expo, if you're kind of a diehard and you know all
Mm-hmm.
this stuff, I always like to say you can't express your views, right? You can't express that, hey, this guy, I actually think this guy's not very good. How do I, benefit from that? Or
Mm-hmm.
I think, this guy's really good at home, but not on the road, or
Right.
plays well in domes, but not in dome. Like you
Yeah.
have all this knowledge about these teams that you really can't do anything with other than, oh, I think they're going to, you know,
Right. You got DFS, which is a little bit, but even that's getting a little stale, right? It's just yeah.
yeah. Yep. And so growing up, I played a lot of, I played like Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon and some of those like trading card games.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you're playing like FIFA or Madden these days with like Ultimate Team and stuff like that, like
Right.
the idea of being able to power up your team, or not only power up, but kind of like change scoring and change mechanics and things.
Yeah.
I thought it would give managers just so much more control, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, hey, you know what, you know, um, Winston, Jameis Winston is a great
Mm-hmm.
example. Or it's like, yeah, he's going to put up a lot of points, but I also think he's going to throw a bunch of interceptions. So what do you do to like, benefit
Mm-hmm.
from like, he's going to put up 500 total yards. You don't know if it's to your team or the other team, but he's,
Right.
he's going to do it. So,
Right.
and how do you benefit from that? And so
Mm-hmm.
we thought about, what would be cool, if in addition we gave managers the ability to play these other cards on top of their lineup. So
Mm-hmm.
in addition to just saying, oh, he's going to do well, we have some cards. We have the double joint card. So speaking of bears, we have a double joint card where a kicker gets 10 points for every field goal or extra point they miss. And so now you're like,
Right.
picking on bad kickers or in kind of bad
Right.
situations. We have a card called we have like a Hail Mary card where, if you complete a pass of 50 yards, you get extra points.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we have, one of my favorite, uh, what do we call it? It's so we have a card. Oh gosh, the name escapes me at the moment. But we basically have like a deflate gate card where you get a point for every incompletion your quarterback throws. And
Wow.
so everything along,
So
like,
that's where Jameis Winston comes into play.
exactly, exactly. Last year we had a card that kind of powers up running quarterbacks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And last year, I think there was one game where Daniels had like 3 touchdowns on the ground, and like,
Mm.
he just, like, there were folks that won our entire league,
Yeah.
or won that entire tournament, for that week off of that card. So the
Wow. Yeah.
idea was
Cool.
just like, you have all these different things you can do,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of, power up your teams or really express kind of your view. And I think it also makes it so, like, not everyone's playing the same strategy.
Right. Right.
Back when I was doing kind of basketball, professionally and stuff, I always like to say, like, baseball, there's a reason everyone loved doing baseball analytics, because
Mm-hmm.
baseball is very much a one on, like, I don't want to say there's no strategy, but like, if you're the batter, there's almost never a situation where you're like, I want to get out. Right? Like, you're always going to put the
Right.
ball into play. You're
Yeah.
always like, there's basically one strategy in baseball, and that is to put the ball in play.
With the
And
ball
there's,
in play and not get
that's
out.
and not get out. You're right.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Yeah.
But with like basketball, with football, so much of it depends on, like, when you talk, especially in basketball, when you talk about like, oh, why does this guy have like a bad rebounding rate, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
7'3", but he doesn't get any rebounds. Why?
Right.
Like, part of that could just be scheme, right? Maybe the scheme is, you know what, we're not going to go for rebounds. We're going to get back on defense and make sure we prevent transition points. Like, people play in different styles,
Oh
and
yeah.
so
Sure. Right.
you have all these different strategies that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to say the same thing with fantasy, like football. Like,
Oh yeah.
fantasy football
Absolutely.
today, there's one strategy, and that's score as many points as you can in this
Right.
way, right? And everyone's kind of doing the same thing. But with Smash Up, the idea is like different people can play different strategies.
Mm-hmm.
We had one guy last year we have a bunch of different, like, one set of strategies last year was really, we have cards that power up people on the same team.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people went all Lions all the time. They just drafted the entire Lions
Not
team.
a terrible idea. Right.
Yeah. And then, they played that. We had some strategies around, picking quarterbacks that were going to, get turnovers. Because usually those quarterbacks are cheap, right? So we play in a DFS type
Okay.
format. So quarterbacks that are bad are cheap, meaning that you can actually score a lot of points on a really cheap quarterback and then just go bonkers on the rest of your lineup,
Got it.
if you're
Yeah.
saving money. And so lots of
Yeah.
different ways to play, lots of different strategies. And,
Well,
I think that's
it,
what makes it fun.
yeah. And I feel like the cool thing about that too is there could be two people with the same exact team player wise, but depending on how they play the cards, they could have a whole different scoring, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
And I
exactly
think
right.
that's what makes it kind of cool because if you're in a tournament like a DFS, what's the biggest problem? Well, everybody picks the same guys because it's all the best guys. But in this way, we could both have Christian McCaffrey, but you might put, he gets, and I think I remember one of them was like, if, for every catch, your running back gets 2 points instead of 1 point, or,
Yep.
gets 2.5 times the yards or, points on the yards or just various things that you could look at a McCaffrey and go, well, I could use this card. I could use that card, and play different strategies, like you said. And the cool thing was, and I assume it's still the same way, so stop me if it isn't, but you pick your players in a salary cap like you would
Yep.
DFS, but
Mhm.
then the cards have a separate salary cap that you have to stay within, so you can buy as many cards as you can afford, but you got to pick and choose what your strategy is. Do you want to spend half of your on this one card that could get Jane Daniels huge points. But if he doesn't and he has a bad game, you just wasted the card versus maybe buying 5 cards at a lesser price, but spreading them out amongst your players. So I mean, there's just
Hmm.
the what do they call it? The opportunities are endless, right?
Yeah.
Of what you can do, how you can do it, how you can match it all up, and I think that's what makes it so much fun to play because again, you can have the exact same people. I remember when I did the playoff game, I'm thinking, well, everybody's going to have Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, all these people. And the difference is, well, where am I putting my cards? Am I putting my cards on that person,
Yeah.
And that makes the difference between being in first place or being in not so first place.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. And
Yeah,
I
so
also think
super
it
cool
makes
stuff.
the game fun to watch too, because you're rooting for like different things. Like you're rooting for like
Yeah.
uh
Yeah, I remember like watching and I'm thinking, okay, who did I put that card, that special card on? Was it McCaffrey or was it, McCaffrey was a place. Was it, Josh Allen or did I put it on somebody else? I don't remember, So
yep.
I had to look it up. I had to get online like, okay, I got to see who I put my cards on. And I
Hmm.
didn't win, I know that, but it was still a lot of fun, none the same. Um, so anything else you want to share with people like if they want to get started with this year, how do they go sign up? How do they do? Can they create a league? Do they join a league? Talk about the whole league week by week DFS style that you guys have and how that all works for the listeners out there that may want to get into this come August.
Yeah, absolutely. So, super easy to sign up. Just go to our website, smashupsports.com. We are completely free. And there is no, you're not putting up money or anything like that. So we're not, we're not kind of a money game in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So completely free to play, free to join. You can actually win some prizes though. We do have kind of our week to week, weekly tournaments. We have three main modes. The most popular, I would say, is our weekly tournaments. So come
Mm-hmm.
in any week of the season. As Bob mentioned, right, it's DFS type style. So
Yeah.
come in, pick your players, pick your cards, see how you do against everybody else that plays. We also have a pretty unique game mode that we call campaign. So,
Mm.
Bob, I don't know if you ever played like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter or any of those like fighting games. So it's
No, I'm more of a shoot 'em up kind of guy. So no, I didn't
right.
play many fighter games.
So for a lot of those games, you kind of fight a bunch of bosses in like
Okay.
harder and harder modes. So
Mm-hmm.
we call it the first fantasy football single player game. So
Okay.
you basically enter into these campaigns and you have to beat 8 bosses that get progressively harder and harder every
Oh,
single
okay.
week. The
Fun.
catch is these bosses are real people. So we get
Oh,
experts. We got, Fitz from Fantasy Pros and
oh, nice.
Erickson from Fantasy Pro. We get guys from, RotoWire and Fantasy Pros. Scott Fish was a boss last year.
Oh,
So,
excellent.
you
That's fun.
know,
Yeah.
play against him. And so it's a chance to, play some of the experts. And, every single week, they get more and more, they get more budget, they get better cards. But maybe your strategy is going to be better. So it gets you a chance to, earn some bragging rights and kind of play
Love
them
it.
week to week. And then the third mode, which is our league mode, you can sign up, you can sign up your friends in a league. The way our leagues work, it's kind of like Mario Kart. So every single week you play DFS, right? There's no draft, there's no
Hmm.
trading, anything like that.
Right, right.
Every week you pick your team, you pick your cards, you score points, and you just add up the points week over week.
Hmm.
The nice thing with this is like I always like to say it sucks when you start like 0-4, 0-5, and you're kind of like, you know what, I'm done, right? I'm
Yeah,
done for the
right,
season.
right,
Here, because it's a cumulative points thing, you
right.
can be like 300 or 400 points out of first. And because the cards add so much variance, you get a
Hmm.
good week and you're right back in it. So like
Yeah.
nobody's really ever out of it,
Hmm.
which we think is fun. And
Yeah.
on that note, the thing I really want to kind of share to the listeners is we are starting, we're doing a big push this year with company fantasy leagues.
Okay.
So we think that fantasy football is a great way for companies to engage employees and get,
Hmm.
especially if you're a bigger company and like, sales never really talks to, you know, product or
Accounting.
engineering or, yeah, you have all
Everybody
these
hates accounting. I know
silos
that.
and HR, everyone hates
Yeah,
HR.
right. That too.
But like you have all these silos that just people don't talk to each other, right? And so we think fantasy football is a great way to do that. But the problem is traditional fantasy football leagues, right? 12 to 16 people. if you're in a company that has 100, 200, 1,000 people, you can't have one league for your entire company.
Right.
Well, with us, you can. And so what we do is what we like to offer is we call it commissioner as a service. So
I love
again,
it.
if you've ever been commissioner, right, it sucks. It's like herding cats,
Yeah.
getting everyone together. And
Hmm.
so we'll do that for you. Basically, introduce us to your company. If we end up kind of signing a deal with your company, there's a nice, we have a nice kind of affiliate package for you. So, if this is something you think your company might be interested in, please
Right.
introduce us, and we'll basically set up everything. Right? We'll run the league. We'll get people involved. We have a whole engagement engine to make sure like people stay playing every week. Employee shout outs and kind of things like that. And
No, that sounds great.
it's definitely. I think everyone loves fantasy, and a lot of companies have
Yeah.
leagues, but
Oh yeah. Every company I ever worked for always had some kind of league, and if they didn't, guess who was creating it?
yep, yep. And so we'll
Yeah.
take that off your plate and again, make it so the entire company can do it and really
Right.
help build that community and build that employee engagement kind of
Hmm.
across
Yeah.
things. So,
And then having the fun cards, just, even if you're not good at fantasy football or you don't think you're good at it, just having fun with the cards part, I could see a lot of females, like my wife doesn't play fantasy. She would rather watch the grass grow. Um, but we still stay married, amazing. But anyway, I could see her like, oh, I get to play these cards. This is fun. I can do this.
yeah.
So yeah, I think it sounds like a great idea, for sure. I mean, I
Yeah.
could see a lot of companies. So folks are out there, you're at a company and maybe there is one or two leagues. Um, might be a good time to talk to Hybo and say, hey, could you guys run this? Because HR doesn't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I'm too busy. They get mad at me because I'm running the league. And I had that problem too. Trust me. Like, oh, Bob's spending too much time running the league at work. I'm like, oh, maybe. So yeah, so then that takes that pressure off. Like, hey, I'm not taking precious time away to run the fantasy league. So yeah, I think it's a great idea. I love it. So folks, if you know anybody out there, definitely give these guys a call as well and get hooked up with them. Hybo, as we talked, you came to this last year. So for folks out there listening to this show, talk about your experience at the expo. Both as an exhibitor and as a fan on the outside looking in. Talk about your experience. Just what you thought, what you expected, what you saw, good, bad, ugly. I don't care. I mean, we're here to share for everybody to know what they're getting into if they're an exhibitor or even a fan. Talk about that experience you had last year.
Um, so we had a fantastic experience. First off, I've never been to Canton before, and just being in Canton was awesome. Like
Yeah, the
seeing
Hall
the
of
Hall of
Fame, right? Yeah.
Fame, seeing the bubble. It was, yeah, it was just a great experience. For us, as I mentioned, last year was our first year. So
Hmm.
we really, we've been playing for a while, but we didn't really know much, especially as we're kind of growing,
Hmm.
kind of the company. We really didn't know too many people. And
Hmm.
so the expo it was an awesome opportunity to meet with fans. And we certainly got, a lot of signups, people coming to our site.
Hmm.
But I think the more, the the bigger value for us as an exhibitor was really meeting all the other exhibitors. I mean,
Yeah.
there are so many, podcasters, influencers, folks who
Hmm.
are big names in the fantasy space, yourself
Yeah.
included, that, it was a great opportunity to just meet all of them. I think we formed 4 or 5 different partnerships. And, you know,
Well, and you also talked about too is just getting the guys to come to help you with the campaign thing to be bosses, right? Because you
exactly.
said you didn't know hardly anybody, and now you got Scott Fish, you've got Pat Fitzmaurice, you've got all these guys that are like helping out to have some fun with you, promote your game, and that's what's so great about this industry is that
Hmm.
nobody's too big to not help each other out. I think that's why this community thrives so well. Is that if you were, if you went to somebody, if you were in a manufacturing world and you had an expo, you're not going to go over to these guys that do, that's a competitor and go, hey, will you help my company grow? They'd be like, get out of my face.
Yeah.
right? But that's not how we work, man. We're here to help each other. That's what the expo was built on originally, is just a place that we can all share our ideas. And whether it's a new game or a new site or a new, concept, app, whatever, that's what it's all about. So I think, one, thank you for saying that, because I always feel that way, but I want to hear from people who didn't know this was going to happen when you came in and then watched
Mhm.
it unfold and benefit from. Now you have these guys like Scott and Pat and all them helping your game be successful for the
Yeah.
fans to play. So cool stuff. Anything else? I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just want to kind of emphasize that spot there, because it is a perfect reason why we tell new companies, like, you really need to come and just be a part of the weekend. And I think you're going to really benefit long term from it. So.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I think for us that was the biggest thing, was really just meeting everyone, forming these partnerships. These partnerships have turned into, company partnerships,
Right, sure.
business relationships, and
Right,
and
sure.
and that's been great. And I think outside of the actual expo event, I think all the events at night and the different those were just really great times, because at the end of the day, like, we're all doing something, I think, that we love, and it's something
Mhm.
that it doesn't really feel like work that much. And so feeling, having that, those the party,
The
the
parties and the drafts and
that's a
the fun
great time. Like,
times. Yeah,
just meeting people as people, I,
yeah,
I think is fantastic. And so
yeah. No, cool, cool
for
stuff.
other companies looking, thinking about coming, like, I highly recommend it.
Thank you. Appreciate
I
that.
think it was a great experience.
Thank you. All right, so let's talk about 2025, man. We're 10 days away. It's still blowing my mind.
No. Yeah.
What does Hybo and Chris and everybody at Smash Up Sports got planned for their booth? What should people be looking forward to when they come to the Smash Up booth at the expo next weekend? What can you give some inside scoops, or you want to keep some secrets?
No, I mean, come stop by.
Uh-huh.
We have our life-size cutouts of our cards, so you can you can get your picture in some of our cards. We certainly have a lot of cards there. We think they're really cool.
Oh, I know they're cool. I've seen them. Yeah.
Yeah. So come, stop by, pick up some cards, take a look at the game. As I said, we're really kind of focused on helping companies and stuff this year. So again, if you think this might be something that your company might be interested in,
Mhm.
come talk to us.
Yeah.
Like I said, we have a really kind of generous affiliate package for anything. If we're able to sign anything. I think we're also doing I think we're doing a jersey giveaway as well. So come stop by our booth. We'd love to meet you and show you more about Smash Up.
Awesome. All right. Well, Hybo, I'll let you take us out here. Tell everybody again the site, whatever Twitters, Instagram, social media follows they need to jump on. And then I'll take it out from here. But thank you again for being a part of not only this interview, but also being a part of the expo again this year. Just completely, totally appreciate that. So yeah, I'll let you take it from there, and then I'll take us out with a little quick video shows everybody where to get their tickets.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. I'm Hybo. Come play Smash Up. We're at www.smashupsports.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, under Smash Up Sports, and come find us at the expo. We'd love to meet you, and are looking forward to seeing you next weekend.
All right. Well, thank you, Hybo, for being a part of the show. Folks, 10 days away. Guess what? Tickets are going to get cut off on August 1st. That is this Friday. If you hadn't got your tickets, we will sell them at the door, but it's going to be more expensive. So don't take that chance. Get them now, sign up, register, and we'll see you all next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, Canton, Ohio, right here. Don't miss it. I'm out.
Thanks for watching. Lock in your 2025 football tickets now at thefantasyfootballexpo.com. Hit subscribe and check out one of these excellent at FF Expo videos next.